to begin, I have to see you that all the font you will see, all the African writing system you will see, have been designed by Arthur Francesca and Morgan Pierson and our teacher Jérôme Knebusch in the context of Missing Script program. This is a program I integrate 2 years ago, and I finished 1 year ago. So I did a lot of numerical experimentation and a lot of comparison between them, and then I use the tool of a Missing Script program. So you will see a lot of this typography, and I regularly use that sources. So there are at least officially around 38 rating systems which have been created on African continent. This is the official numbers because it exists other form of glyphs and scripting language which have been mentioned by Sakima Fundikwa. I will talk about later, but most yet, but they are less yet considered like rating system. So this one, which are very known as rating system, because there are enough information and sources about them. Okay, so the most of those are alphabet, and after we have the syllabaries, and some of them are rating system like Abugidas or Abjad. So this is like Arabic. This is kind of a right to left writing system. And the most curious about their creation is there a particular period where the most of them have been created from 1830. So this one on the screen, this is some of the rating system which have been created. This is most related to the birth of writing systems. This is the very beginning. And so since 1830, there is a big wave of new rating systems. These days, he introduced the notion of context of creation because of these systemic recreations. And I am especially interested on this particular period of post-colonialism. So why create a writing system? A rather glaring similarity is that all these system of writings come from the same history, especially in Western Africa. There's very often the same story of a man who dreamed of a ghost, spirit, who asked him to create a writing system for these people. And the people are very specific people. It's always a clan, 2 or 3 villages who speak the same language. And after that, he saw a star or a sign, and take it like a pretext to develop and spread his rating system. It's the case of a lot of African rating system. This is the case of Africa rating system, which are very familiar with them. And this is very interesting because what do they say? It's very related to beliefs and to the story and the kind of hierarchy which are in use in this clan. This is very specific of this kind of society. And then there appear that some of them are very strong familiar links. So you have in the middle, I don't know if you see my mouth, but in the middle, there is this vai. This is the most the most ancient of them. This is kind of the ancestor of them all. Some story and some sources says that the Vai come from a man which were a slave, and a slave who had his roots in Africa, but his family have been expatriated in America and lived with the Cherokee. And then he knows the Cherokee, and then come from in Africa, and then invented the Vai in Liberia. And then since about 1900, there's a lot of others writing system who have been created because of the Vai. There are a lot of issues about that. Not everybody is agree with that, but there are some sources, a lot of sources who said that. I'm lost in my noted. Okay, I tried to report some recurrent shapes, but I do not want it to get some essential conclusion. So I just show you an extract of these researches. I just can say that the recent creation get always this monolinear design for the most of them, relating by the use of quite a modern pencil. But here you can see there are a lot of forms which are very familiar. Even the Hafaka, which is from Suriname. So we have to note that in addition to the one which have been created, 5 writing systems have been imported from 20 centuries before Jesus Christ to 70 centuries after Jesus Christ. All these dates follow the creation. All these dates is followed by the creation of a new writing system, especially Latin. So for the most ancient, Phoenician and Greek have been almost replaced by other writing systems which are very linked to the Phoenician and the Greek. Arabic too. When Arabic appeared, some years after, there were Tifinagh, and then of course when Latin arrived, there were a lot of alphabetic writing system who come, and then Hebrew. But Hebrew, that's quite strange. I did not found a lot of about it. So the area with the most activity correspond to the rest of Africa continents. This is the most concerned by the colonialism too. All the writing system of this area have been created between 1900 and 1970. So why this sudden recrudescence? In a colonialist and post-colonialist context, it showed the need to affirm his own linguistic and graphic culture against an external and imported one. And yeah, I will talk about the Médéphedrine. So we constate that the motivation of creating a new writing system is based on some external or internal influence. Some, like the Médéphedrine, has been created with the initiative of missionaries, the members of a small Christian mission groups known as Hoberi Ikaim. It was based in southern Nigeria. The writing system is inspired by endogenic symbols, but this is the same alphabet than Latin writing system. So you have the A, the B, the C, etc., in capitals and in small letters. So I find this one very representative of this external influence because of the alphabet system, the capital things. And there are a lot of most contrasted sources, like calligraphy. that you don't find in all sources. Yeah, if you see the layout, this is very related to a Latin use. And so I will speak about the internal influence. So the creation of the Balmond come from an internal influence by the need of the people to have their own identity in a rating system. So you have a very need to resist to Latin cultures, and we have to note again that the form and the nature to each rating system on the continent is very related to the presence of important rating system, once again. And I had to show you this map of the imported rating system. So you can see this is all the black and gray ones. And okay, you have, like I said, all of these are very related and in the same country. Yeah. Oops. Okay. I lost myself again. Yeah. Among the most modern of African writing system, there's also a desire to preserve a graphic identity. The creator of the BT, his name is Brûlis Boisbré, designed this syllabary to write his native Bété language from Ivory Coast and save the Bété culture. I just noticed that I don't show his name in this slide, so I will send you documents with all the name if you want to investigate about it. And there is also the Adlam syllabary, which have been mentioned last week by Loraine. It have been created in the way to save the Peul culture. The creator was two young Guinean brothers, Abdoulaye and Ibrahima Barry. This is one of the most recent syllabary. And this is interesting because this is one of this is the only one which one of the only which have been encoded. Okay. So we can very easily constate that creating a rating system is part of a political process of valuing indigenous language and art and script and symbols. And binding them is also a political choice and a political act. And so I will mention medephedrine, which have been banished and prohibited too. This is the British colonial regime, some years after its apparition and some months after the build of a school. The British colonial regime banned its thought. I think I do not have all the information about the history, but the little church is described in a lot of documents like a sect, so I don't know what to think about that. But we can constate the political character and the power issues of that event. The fact to privilege Latin for all administrative use make that native and endogenic rating system socially devalorized, and it was considered like a rating system of poor people. So in the case of the medephedrine, it have been encoded, I think, 2 years ago, just after Arthur work on it. But there are still a lot of rating system in this case which are not encoded and almost disappeared because of their story and because of the late to to people to have an interest of it in it. The majority of writing systems are still in use but not encoded. This is the pink on this chart. Because some members of Unicode, for example, consider it like not enough developed, this writing system are not ready yet to integrate numerical tools. And then, when they will be integrated, we will have to wait for all materials around it, like keyboard, typefaces, software, etc., etc. So it's it's a big thing. This delay, unfortunately, led to a gradual extinction of the rating system, which were replaced by the dominant rating system, so Latin and Arabic rating system. Oops, a French word in my slide. Sorry, I will correct it. So how do they live today? It stay today a lot of non-encoded writing system. However, they stay alive by the initiative or user to preserve them. I will take the example of Gokceyan. There 2 years ago, we do not know that much things about Gokceyan. It just there was just a new proposal just last year. This is very new. And the whole writing system have been designed with the sources of 10 first ancestral symbols and glyphs. Research and development have been made by Mohamed Bentoura Bangoura. So I will send you all the names later. And Lucille Guignon is a French designer and type designer who interested herself in this writing system. She constates a strong desire to keep this rating system for the people, but also a need to preserve it and develop by numerical tools to make it subsist. The way they survive for the moment stay quite mysterious because this is the affair of the very people concerned, and it's run by a very close tradition. So they are very there is a they very want to keep that for themselves, and they do not want to spread it in all the world too fast and too much. I think they want to avoid some reappropriation, something like that, and I think this is a risk. Yeah. Now I will talk you about the designer acting for the preservation of writing system in Africa. So I have to start by the much known of them, Saki Mafundikwa. He's a teacher and a researcher from Zimbabwe. This is the author of a book named Africa Rating Systems, African Scripts, sorry. And this book identifies all the known rating systems, scripting language, and system of glyphs appeared on West Africa continents, and all the rating system related to them. So he very well known the Maroon Afaka from Suriname. And is on the way for the second edition. I just can't wait. Thanks for these researchers, we have a better view of these scripts and the culture around them. They make it exist, and that they valorize that culture too much considered with the condescendence like oral transmission. So I have to talk about Sebastian Tapinawashi Gariyaki. He's a talented type designer from Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, but also a user and a reader of the writing system. He drawn the Moingregwo and the Enco. This is the Enco, I think you saw. Well, yes, this is the Enco. And his work offers great visibility for this rating system and contribute to interrogate population about the modern place of language from Africa's continent in modern tools. And then we have the work of Adam Yeyo. Okay, sorry. It was supposed to be a video, but tant pis. So Adam Yeyo, which ran a reflection on the evolution of beta scripts in numerical tools and editorial support. I chose to show you this image of Instagram because I like the way this research has spread by proposing new design and new edition layout. Yeah, I have to talk about cohabitation with other writing system because it's very important to interrogate on the actual use of this rating system. And of course, there are not a lot of users and readers even in the very concerned areas. So they are almost always accompanied by cohabitation with another rating system. It's often Latin. And du coup, I show you this very cool layout of football and daily documents about Adlam. And I found very cool to show you this little writing system in wool with this classical design of Word software, 90s overload. But more seriously, oh yeah, okay, yeah. The one uncoded are most layout with other writing system in the context of researches or historical translation. So they are not everyday life use mostly. So this is the example of this document I usually read for my researches. As you can see, all these documents are run by Latin writing system because of their pedagogic nature. So this is the only case I could show a lot of writing system from West Africa together in the same text or in the same document. This is text or charts ruled by Latin everywhere. This is the only case. So that's it.
Woo! Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Super nice. Maybe, Émilie, can you tell us the book African Scripts?
Yeah.
The second edition is going to be a reprint, or there are going to be also new things in it?
It's not a reprint. It's a new book with a lot of most African writing systems. So I want to ask it for my birthday because this is very expensive and the old ones is not available. I never found it, or this was very expensive. So
yeah, it's 1,000 euro on Amazon, I see.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But I have if you want some screen of these, I can show you some of them. But yeah, this is very hard to find, and I heard that he worked on a lot of new writing system, and I think new familiar link with other writing systems. So I'm very curious.
Me too.
Can you write the name of the author in the chat as well, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna write it now. This is quite long. Ok, so c'est qui m'affundi quoi? Researcher about all African rating system. Maybe Yeah, I think it will be kind of. This is not quite interesting to see me write all the things. So if you have question, I can answer now if you want.
I heard speak that Saki gave last year for the what's this archive in San Francisco? In no, it's like this archive where they have a lot of specimens and
Letter form archive.
yeah, exactly. I think they have like a list of all these talks there archived. So like maybe I could look for the link because well, I also think it was like very extensive and eye-opening. All the things he mentioned there, and for example, I don't know if you know a project that's called Kigelia. He mentioned that it's like some sort of pan-African writing project where they want to integrate different sorts of type projects within a single working system or something like that. I was wondering if you had more information on that, or like how do you feel, for example, about projects that integrate more into the structure while you know we are talking more about particularities. What's the feeling like, for example, in the case of languages from native cultures in Mexico? It's a topic because normally homogenizing has come in detriment of the particularities of each language and sometimes also like its origin. So how is this in Africa in the sense of do you know projects that want to, you know, go very big and then like have trouble working with these like specifics?
I don't know how to respond. I met a lot of researchers like me, which was very interested in all of them, and then concentrated about all their social issues, but that was all the pack together. And this is such a big work to be concentrated on each writing systems. So we have a little bit the obligation to be the most general as possible. But that was in the context of research like me, just 18 months. This is quite short, so I had to do things in the global. But I met other researchers who just concentrated, like Adam Liu, who just concentrated on one and just take some stories and about other to serve their own research, but they're still on the same. I was talking about a guy. I don't know if I'm answering your question. Sorry. I met a guy who asked me because I wanted to do to make all the form of the glyph discuss, and they asked me the problematic of the encyclopedia and to make it all in the same book and to melt it. This and do classification just about forms and maybe make it too much essentials. So yeah, I don't know how to answer. Excuse me. Maybe I didn't understand.
No, thank you, Emily. I think it's in the sense of what I'm thinking. You know, it's just like I think we can sometimes talk from the particular and sometimes from the general when talking about giving inclusivity or that has to do with these topics. But
I have to say that I met another guy. This is a lot of European ones. This is yeah. If I have to say something, is that all researchers which are investigated on all the pack together. It's a more European guy, and I think this is cool because you can have a little bit. You are not in, so you can saw all the social global situation. And the most, a lot of actual users and readers work on one in particularly. And this is cool because they are very close to the cultures. They are very imprinted by the culture. And this is more coherent for the very identity of the culture. And yeah, I met some guys who talk about West African by comparison, by, for example, with the Asian one or India one, and they very speak. They very often speak about social context or situation or evolution between the step of be a symbols, be just a drawing, and then have meanings, and then have a way to be read, and they speak a lot about that. But yeah, I think the choosing to consider it like a pack or considered it in their own identity one by one, it's a very choice of the researcher to speak about a very specific question, I think.
yes, thank you. I think it's
for example, I take all the pack of writing system, and then I concentrated about one of their cousins in Suriname, and that helped me to understand a very big situation. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wonder if placing all of the African scripts that exist on African continent all together in one pack, I wonder if that wouldn't influence how people in Africa see their own cultures related to all those scripts, because African continent is so huge. There are so many cultures in it, and it feels weird to put them all in one package and not identify them clearer than how it's been done so far. If I do an analogy to Europe or to Asia, it's quite weird. You can say you cannot talk about European culture as a whole or Asian culture as a whole, because there are so many differences when you look at a smaller scale, when you look at them closer. So I wonder how people in like one specific culture over there, they see their own culture, their own writing system, their own language, compared to Latin alphabet that they see, I suppose, as the writing system of the colonizers.
Yeah. This is not what I wanted to say. When I began my researches, of course I take all of them, and then I did some all families, and then I separated families, and then I reseparated under families, and so I began, but I didn't do that because I was gonna lose myself. I was gonna do a lot of sorts and charts in the writing system inspired by Arabic writing systems or related to Greek writing systems, and so I was beginning to do that, and it was all the old one, all the ancient one, all the historical ones. So I just said, okay, that exists. One day I will investigate in it, and then I take all the Western one, and I take a very specific pack that was in the date since 1830, and in the western park, the western area, because all the one the ones of the easterns and the south are not exactly in the same context, in the same colonialist context. So I wasn't sure it was very Korean to keep them, and then I was I think you know, I show you a map with a lot of little maps. So I was separated. So this family of Western African writing system in a lot of little families. So you had the Fula one, you have the Mende one. This is all the ones which are related to Vai. This is the one I'm working on. So I just, and then now I am finished my research in INRT. I'm looking for a PhD. I choose again between the little pack of 6 rating system among the Monday ones, and I choose the 3 which are not encoded. So why they are not encoded? And so yeah, there is. It depends on what do you want to say, because I had discussion with other type designer which are interested in writing system used on the African continent, and that was a discussion related about the actual use, the cohabitation, the difficulty with clients like Google, who asks some strange comment, and yeah, this is very related to that. This was most about actual use and actual design and actual tools. So that was, we were quite on the same vibe, I think. We were talking about how does it subsist, and this was not a very big problem. But yeah, in the case of social context, of language context, you have to be more deeper in details and more at you have to take more attention on it. I don't know if that was clear. Or...
Yeah, it's we can see easily from your examples and your presentation that type design and writing system is not only about doing some drawing symbols and being only focused on how they look. And there are tons and tons of things behind it, behind every writing system all over. And it's super interesting. And we have to be always super careful about it because of all those influences around it. Yeah, with like it feels like there's this whole trend, or how do you call it, vague, a wave of decolonizing design, as in like taking away everything that is about Latin or European culture. But yeah, it's almost really sensitive as a topic to work on, because everyone is free to do whatever they want, but if you focus too much or if you are too extremist in a way, in one direction, this can later on can also have influences on future users of whatever you do as a designer. There's a kind of a lot of responsibility in it.
Yeah.
Have you sent out proposals of designs to Google Fonts?
Me?
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet.
You should.
I was be in touch with a guy who wanted to work with them, but there is still some issues, so I'm waiting. And I just heard about some people working on them, and then Google. There is these very fun stories about a designer saying me that he was in touch with Google for a font, and then he was doing a very traditional font with traditional tools, traditional shapes, and Google said, "Oh no, can you do something more modern, some Google styles?" So that was the idea of the answer. So it was like, okay, we are not we don't understand each other, so we have to be very specific and do a lot of work of talk before this work of the design. There is there is all this problematic. So yeah, maybe
can I ask something?
Yeah, of course.
How does it work with Google Fonts? Is it so common as a type designer to ask Google for offering your fonts?
I will not offer my fonts, not the font I made, because this that was supposed to be researches, and that was to be free to take and free to modify if somebody wants to modify it. If Google, if I had to, what I can propose is to make another font with André Pacosi. I'm used to work with him and do a design of a font very specific, where he will take more decision about the script, and I will be just the technicians, and which is used to technique and reader problematics, and maybe then I will can sold it to somebody who wants an Afaka, for example, an Afaka font.
No, Émilie got disconnected. But yeah, I don't know what's your experience with Google Font, Lisa, but I think it's more the opposite. So at the beginning, Google Fonts commissioned, and they still do, I guess, a lot of designers to make fonts. So it's more, and of course, it's such a big company and so on that indeed, I think there should be some kind of negotiation anyway if you do a font, and then it's integrated in this collection. But
for all of the as you said, because it's one of the largest companies in the world, with like people using their tools, whatever they do, everywhere around the world, for every new project or every new contractor going in with them, it's always a super long process of negotiation. But from my experiences with them, I keep working with them on several types of projects, not necessarily only about Chinese, it's about many things. But I know that they really want to bring to the world a lot of as many tools that are not, how to say that, they are not putting any permanent rules to users that they don't know about necessarily from their end. Even though the team at Google Fonts is quite international and also always turned towards the world, they have their minds open enough to consider everything. As long as you want to discuss with them, you can be sure that they will at least listen, and then you negotiate and then see with upper levels, financial teams and etc. what they say about it. But whenever you have a proposal of projects, it doesn't cost much to send them a proposal and see what they think about it, and then negotiate the price. What I'm seeing, for example, with one of my projects, with the new shoe script to be integrated into Notal Sans, one of the most complete fonts with almost like they want to cover every writing system available with this typeface. So when I designed Mushu for them, I knew that it wouldn't be perfect. Even the usage, even today, it's I can hardly believe that it's used by anyone still. But I collected the money. I used that to take a lot of time in the research, take time in meeting the people, in showing them what is going on everywhere. Also with Google. Google is largely censored in China. So to let them know what is actually happening, even outside of the censorship, it felt like a really interesting thing and important thing to do. So yeah, there's always this balance that I see with projects with Google between things, advantage that you can take from them and advantage that you can bring to the things that you do. So, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And actually the story is quite interesting, and again I'm so fond of non-binary thinking, like that nothing is like either good or evil, but yeah somewhere in between, or closer to good or closer to evil, of course. But yeah, it's I don't know if Dave Crossland is still involved in Google Fonts, because it was founded, yeah, because it was kind of initiated by this person who was super involved in like free software, but like a hardcore free software person. And in fact, the teaming up with Google was a very controversial decision that he made somehow, because in the community it was very criticized.
Like you sold your soul to the devil, or
yeah. But at the same time, that's also somehow thanks to him that all these fonts are free software that you can then reuse and modify, which is something quite important. And then also because of money, like both on their side and on Google side, they could still pay quite well designers to draw fonts. So of course there are all these dimensions that are mixed a bit in this project, and it's important to remain critical, as I think Émilie said, that sometimes they say it's not Google style enough. So I guess it's still up for reflection.
That's quite surprising me. What is Google style? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I think it's related to to the way they talk, and you know, this is a rating system which have like you have traditional aesthetic and more modern aesthetic, and maybe they didn't speak about that, and then just like, can you do us this special rating system, and then yeah. I was thinking about I'm not no, j'ai peur de this is maybe it depends if the type designer is an actual users of the or are very close to the rating system, because I'm not for the moment I'm not very easy to propose to sold rating system of Africa, for example, or even African rating system. I think a type designer will do better than me to solve it, and I think I'm able to do research.
I have an open question for you three, because Garine is not here. I'm wondering if it's possible to actually construct bridges between systems, writing systems that come either from like the place of origin, totally independent from the colonial history, and actually what happened after the colonial period, you know, because a little bit relating to what I was talking last week, in the case I am studying, it was a decision of the people there to remain with Latin. But I think it would be very interesting if there could begin like an expansion, or a little bit like a returning to the roots and an integration of all that richness. So is that a point you like to consider within your possibilities, and how could that be possible?
Are you trying to unmute yourself, Émilie? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is related to what the people and the user and the reader want, because there's still this question about, do we want to spread it, or do we want to keep it for ourselves? And maybe if we keep it for ourselves, the next generation, which is very used to modern tools, will not interested in this rating system. So maybe the rating system will be disappears. So there is some rating system which have been created because of because of missionaries, and other because of resistance of colonialism. There is some which have been created by missionaries but have been forbidden then because people decided to take it and use it for a very non-European use. So that have been forbidden then. And some of them have been created by the people and have been forbidden then by the people because it have been taken by the missionaries to do some Christian stuff or other stuff with. So there is a lot of rating system who changed the statue a lot of time. And now the Christians is, okay, this have this background, it have this history. This is the very choice of the people to say, okay, we are gonna to develop it, or to spread it, or to keep it for ourselves. And this very, if they want to keep, this is like the Correcebeli, it's if they want to keep it for themselves, they are their rights, and and we can't. And I think we can't say okay, we have to spread it to keep it alive. We can't say it if they don't want, because if the culture, if the thought behind this rating system is to keep it secret, if you spread it, you just kill the idea of the rating system.
No, I think you're right. One needs to be extremely respectful, and I think even have an ethical guideline to work with. But within the, let's say, legitimacy that your research give,
Yeah.
does it also make sense that you actually go with a proposal and try to come to form or to gather consensus within a community, like saying, hey, maybe this is interesting to explore, given a little bit what I've already know. What do you think? How could we work this? Do you know, like, I'm wondering if there are cases of linguists, not just linguists, but designers actually beginning a collaboration within the communities that sort of gives the step further into saying, let's reintegrate, let's negotiate, or I want to be part of the negotiation in this idea or effort that you have to create your own system, taking in consideration your origin and your history. And as you say, I think every case is super particular, and it needs to be respected as it is. But yeah, do you know something like that, Émilie? Maybe like a project?
Yeah, I am very integrating about my own identity. So when I speak with the users and readers which are not type designers, so they very don't know all the technical issues, what encoded can make appeared in their writing system. They don't know anything about that. So I just speak to them, and I just give them example of other writing system. I just take just like professional looks, but as far as I'm concerned, if I think if the user or the reader behind says me that he's not interested by my point of view, I think this is okay, and maybe the type designer just next to me will be more able to understand how it has been to be run. And yeah, I don't know how to say that, but I think yeah, during my researches, I was investigated about all the problem I can't imagine because of my very Latin habit used. Is that even English? What I have said? Yeah, and so I think my principle used, the thing I always remember is that I will never understand everything, and this is very important. I just explain to people and say why I can do, why I can't imagine, and I just let people take their own decision for the rating system they use at my own pace. Yeah, for example, I had maybe to work with André Pacuzzi for the integration of Unicode. This is a big project. We have a lot of we had a lot of questions to answer, but there is the part of the type designer, the part of the users, and the part of all the team of the technical team of Unicode. All the place of everybody is a real thing. The real things, and I want to be as small I can as small as possible, and just I think yeah, this is a very personal view. I think people next to me will not will take more. Yeah, I want to just adapt me with all the constraints, but not take initiative. And maybe for other writing system, the solution is to take initiative, but I'm not easy with that for myself.
Yeah, I get this perspective and position you want to take. I guess my question goes more into the sense like you do in your work have an impact because at the moment you put into a digital form all these glyphs, and it comes into the dynamics of the programming, and then possible typing with Occidental sort of keyboard and all this, you know, like it gets integrated, it gets mixed in a way with something that has its forms, even if we don't like them. So I think my question goes into the sense, how do you work with that and you know, just like try to make the best out of it so that the essence is not lost, and whoever wants to regain it can do it.
Okay. So first, I open all my file. If you want me to send my typeface I drawn, I will send you, and you can read it better if you want. I report all the difficulties I had and the question I had, and this is why I think I was studying the pack of rating system in Africa. I document myself on how does it goes for the other ones, and I try to relate all difficulties, and that I think this is the. Yeah, I think when I have a problem or when I have a solution, I all said, okay, guys, I do that with this own place, with that point of view, and maybe if you just take if you are just in another place, in another culture, we will see things in another way. And actually, even when I'm talking just about with a friend in the exactly same school, but which is working on an historical rating system with all other problematics, he points some problematic I didn't see. Yeah. So I'm always related solution and difficulties I had since my places, and then this is just it's like, okay, guys, this is just the solution I have, but I think there is more, and this is just the little part of big research, and it may be, and maybe it will show only things you can't do, but this is it.
Yeah, I posted 2 links in the chat. Very US centric links, sorry, but I like the network principles that are really centering communities and users in the design. So I think that's also, I mean, I think it's nice to have situated examples, because this is very general, and how to do it is indeed a big issue. Like very concretely, like who do you contact? Like, I mean, who is legitimate, and how do you reach real users? And even the users, you were telling Émilie that typographers are all different and all have different ideas, but definitely users will also have different ideas. And when I'm thinking about the use of inclusive writing in French, I'm just like, oh my god, yeah, indeed. Not everyone wants to, have the same feeling about their language, and also about orthography and so on, because in French we keep a very complex orthography which is very elitist and has elitist roots, but okay, so this is also something interesting about not a monolithic view of users. And I guess there could be really, indeed, as you were saying, a lot of discussions, but also a lot of examples, or I don't remember exactly what kind of term you used, Andrea, but I think there could be a very interesting work there to gather stories and tryouts. And I was also thinking about someone whom I always find very interesting about these topics, more specifically about the fact that about this thing that you were asking about pre-colonial and then post-colonial realities, let's say, and then designs and cultures. And it's Clara Balaguer, who is from the Filipinos. And she was saying once, but I think it was more in a discussion, so it was not recorded. But I added some links in the on the website. About the fact that it's a bit difficult to go pre-colonial completely, because this happens, and so it's gonna be always a sort of a mix. But at the same time, I find it important to raise this question and to try to see, or to at least deconstruct what is the colonial heritage and what we can imagine as a kind of pre-colonial heritage, or what we can still receive, or what is still there, and work with that. Anyway, we are working with those heritage, or people who are in other places are working with those two heritage. So maybe it's also a question that could be interesting to discuss with Clara, if you want. At the same time, she's not really a type designer, but worked more on vernacular typography. Yeah, I really like her again because her insights, because it's really she's all the time putting things on their head. Or all the expectations, or all the things that we are taking for granted. For instance, she was talking in a recent symposium about the bamboo fonts, the fonts that look a bit like a kind of misuse of a culture, like a bad cultural appropriation, basically. But at the same time, she was also saying that a lot of people, indeed users, like restaurants and so on, like in Filipino, are using this font. So there are many layers of reappropriation and so on. And basically saying that the bamboo font is a bad font is also problematic in a sense, because it is also degrading some uses of this font. So I found it very interesting in the sense of very rich and super complex as our world is. And I liked, bamboo is bamboo, and I'm not sure there is, at least in French it's called like that. It's like those fonts that are made with bamboo, I don't know what's the word in English, but I think it's that. And I don't remember the name of such fonts, but there are many, I guess. And I also added the link of Vocal Type, which is this US-based foundry. And I liked what you said, Émilie, about transparency with regard to the construction of a project, and telling your doubts and keeping track of them and documenting them. I like how Vocal Type is doing fonts inspired by social justice movements, and then documenting as much or even more than the font design, the movements themselves and the visuals they get inspired by. I found it also quite interesting as a kind of move towards at least just documenting how things are constructed, which is a good way, because then you can deconstruct and you can retake one element, or you know. And Lisa shared another link.
Yes, it's well, now that we're talking about politics, culture, history, all that related to type design, it might feel like it's a super heavy thing, like to keep on your head all of that. It is indeed important depending on the project, but be assured that sometimes it's also nice to do just pretty looking things once in a while. You don't always need to carry that burden of, yes, I have all this background with me. But yeah, for example, if you get the opportunity to design, I don't know, the typeface for an embassy of a country in another country, of course you would have to consider as many things as possible because it is sensitive. But that's one of the best, I don't know, that's one of the greatest things that I like about typography and type design, because you have such a large panel of ingredients to choose from and to adapt all that to your projects, whether they are commissioned or self-initiated projects. And yeah, sometimes just doing pretty things can be also nice and let your creativity and sensitivity go crazy. I shared an article. Sorry?
No, go on, please.
The article was. There are more and more articles about that topic, and not only about Asian-looking typefaces. There are a lot of articles talking about either cultural appropriation, the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. Both are the frontier between both can be really thin and can mean different things depending on the viewer's point of view. So you can also keep in mind that I saw an article, I'm trying to find it. I saw an article about the use of US companies, US interior design companies taking patterns from indigenous indigenous Indian cultures, their patterns. They used all those patterns without really considering what they meant for those populations on carpets, on pillows, whatever, for just a sheer financial, economical benefits. And this is the one of the example for cultural appropriation. You take something from someone else and you only focus on whatever you could benefit from that without considering what it means for the people who created those symbols and patterns. But on the other hand, one can also completely just appreciate a culture from another. It's then we come into this question of legitimacy. If I'm not from this culture, can I use that? Am I allowed to use something that is not from my native culture, from my background? As long as you keep some respect towards it, I don't see why. It can even be good in a way for that specific culture if one can bring some new perspective. Culture, identity, traditions, it's always moving things. It's never permanent. Why should we put things in a crystal box like this is not to be touched ever, and not especially not by people who are not from that culture. So yeah, I know that there's a lot of things to think about. Since this morning we were always talking about really complex topics, but it's a fascinating part of type design.
I mean, thank you very much also for all the links and information you've been sharing on the chat. My part, I will go through all of this. And I think it's a nice also statement, Lisa, sometimes carrying the burden of doing the project with that many implications is difficult. It happened to me, the process of the master. And that's why I'm enjoying very much this workshop, because it goes also in the other part of, I think, on one part, sharing things with you that I think have similar sometimes line of research and mindset. That's very nice, but also liberating in the sense of, at least in my project, doing something very personal and still getting involved with forms and translating into writing system. So thank you very much.
Sure.
And I will post the link to the YouTube channel today without miss. I'm very sorry.
Yeah. And then
Thank you.
also, it's whatever you're doing during a career, like everything that you would have done for this workshop or for your master project, although they're important, it's important to consider them as important things, but also keep in mind that it will not be the project of your life, or like the thing that would revolutionize everything.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
always, yeah, it's always
I
nice
think
to keep some step back.
it's just that for me it was an entrance. The project, the master project, because I really wanted to see as a starting point, maybe for the rest of my life, because I think it needs to keep going and going and going, you know. So it's very cool, but as I've said, it's that, and it's just like in a stage where it needs to being kept, being checked, reviewed, but not by me or by, for example, designers here in Berlin or in Germany, but actually there, you know, like with the users. And who are the users? I think it's also very problematic to put them in a box and say, like, my users are just this. And that happened, for example, during the presentation. So it's just like, you're offering this project for general users, and they were the comment was disregarding that there are designers, like graphic designers or type designers within the community that would actually would like to work and expand, maybe with me, maybe totally independent for me, because I'm just an actor. I don't want to be a central figure in that. So yeah, it's very complex, but just a starting point.
And at the moment, did you already contact people, or yeah, very concretely, like?
Yes.
How do you?
Before I started, I contacted, scholars, but from the community, not even from like Mexico University in Mexico City, but there in the community for people that have been researching, that have all the materials that are being done on the area. And now I'm contacting a collective of designers in one of these towns, and also 2 writers. And like, how do you see this? What could we do? Would it be maybe interesting to start something from this? I mean, again, it's just I'm external. It's part a little bit of who I am, but I'm not part of the community in any sense. So I can only go and be very cautious how I offer the things and how I try to get involved into the discussion.
Thank you for sharing. Looking forward to hear about how it's gonna go with the discussions, and yeah, super nice.